Good morning, everyone. As Jim said, my name is Rachel Passara, and I grew up in Maryland with an amazing family that I love dearly and am blessed to have. Growing up, I had very little experience going to church. The few times I went to church, it was with my friend's family, and every time I would go, I kind of found it boring and had a hard time focusing on the message because it felt like I was just being lectured. I never remember anyone at church being enthused about the message or excited to come back the next Sunday. My family did believe in God, but it felt more like a vague belief in a higher power. I was taught to embody similar values that the Bible encourages, such as empathy, kindness, and honesty, because I was told that good people go to heaven and bad people go to hell. In my mind, that logic made a lot of sense. God would reward those of us who are good and treat others well, and therefore he must punish those who are not. For 23 years of my life, I was convinced that I was a pretty good person and would make it to heaven without a shadow of a doubt based on my own character and merits. When I went to college, I was hearing new perspectives on religion, but still, it wasn't changing my own. Of course, this is when God had to step in. In graduate school, I started talking to Josh, and my friends warned me that he had a strong religious background, but I ignored them and continued to get to know this guy a little bit better. Well, it's a great thing that I did because he's now the most important man in my life. A few months into getting to know each other, he brought up the bridge course. Honestly, I didn't have much interest in going because all I knew about Christianity was what the news and the media portrayed. I was also very content in where I was in my life and didn't see a need to change. The first time I went to Bridge, I went with Josh. I was there inconsistently when I could fit it in because, to be honest, it wasn't a priority for me. During the lessons, I definitely heard things that made me uncomfortable and were pretty much the exact opposite of what I thought to be true my entire life, especially the first sermon, which was, "How good are you?" It basically debunked my whole idea that good people go to heaven, and it was one of the hardest concepts I ever had to hear. Actually, I really didn't want to hear it, and I certainly did not want to embrace it. The 10 weeks went by, but at that point in life, God was still not a priority for me, and I wanted to keep living for myself. I focused on graduating, passing boards, then finding a job. Arrogantly, I thought I was doing pretty dang good in life for only being 23. I would still attend church with Josh infrequently, and when attending this church, I finally began to see others who were passionate and thrilled about the gospel. The testimonies people would share inspired and encouraged me. I felt my heart starting to want to desire that feeling as well. Specifically, I remember watching Corey and Megan Friel's baptism, and that pushed me to try the bridge course again. The second time around, I promised myself I would prioritize the course and advance my knowledge about Christianity past what social media had to say. But I still had an arsenal of questions that I needed to be answered before changing my life around. God stepped in once again because the leaders from my group were Jim and Trish Donahue, and the co-leaders were Corey and Megan Friel. I couldn't have asked for more knowledgeable and compassionate leaders. Every week I would come to Bridge and pepper Jim and Trish with questions and hypothetical situations, and I would always get sound, logical answers as well as meaningful discussions in a totally judgment-free zone. I started to notice that Wednesday nights were a night that I genuinely look forward to. Actually, I never left on time because I would stay late and have more conversations about Jesus and the gospel with Trish. Leaving the course, I would feel invigorated and spiritually awakened because I realized that I was finding out what my life's purpose truly was. During the course, there is one weekend where you can go to the retreat. At the end of the retreat, my fellow group members placed their hands on my shoulders and prayed for me. And I remember one man who I had never met before. He said that asking questions about God does not mean that you are running away from him, but instead you are running towards him. It was a life-changing weekend for me, and I am so grateful for it. I realized the gravity of what God had sacrificed on the cross just to save me. By the end of the course, I knew I wanted to commit my life to Jesus and identify as a Christian. Since taking the Bridge course, my life and relationships have changed all for the better. While changes have been slow, I know that I have been forgiven for all my sins because of God's grace, and I have the Holy Spirit in my heart. Taking this course, not once, but twice, was one of the best decisions of my life, and I would strongly encourage anyone who is thinking about taking the Bridge course to do it. Especially if you aren't sure what you believe or have little to no experience with religion, checking it out could change your life. Thank you.